Hey everyone, Nick of the States here, and today we're sitting back here in my secret lair at my office with my evil criminal Chibson Les Paul Stanley Burst that I bought 1 year ago. It's been a long year, baby. We've been through a lot. Guitar's beautiful. It's not a real Gibson. I'm okay with that. My soul is clear. But looking back at a year on the channel, I think there are 5 very common questions I've been getting, and I'll go in order of kind of the ones I've gotten lately, and then kind of rolling back and try to answer each of them. And they're all related to either A, my reviews, B, Chibsons or Harley Bentons or that kind of stuff, and then C is kind of the big Gibson. So, without further ado, let's do it. First of all, if I live in the United States, where my top list purchase a Harley Benton guitar. My Harley Benton videos have actually, I think, surpassed my Chibson videos in traffic. And why I think it's because they're a inexpensive, really kind of cool guitar, and they play really well out of the box. I think they have consistently better setups than almost any guitar I've gotten under the $1,000 range. So if you're in the United States or any other country globally, and want to buy one, they don't sell them in any stores here, and they don't sell them from anywhere that you probably are used to buying things like eBay or Amazon or whatnot. The only place to get it is Thomann, THOMANN.de in Germany. And when you go to the site in a web browser, it's better on a computer. Top right-hand corner, it may ask you the first time what country you're in. There's a button there for other countries if you're in the U.S. Choose the U.S. and choose your currency as U.S. dollars, because what it's going to do is the base prices that they give you, even in the euro, when you just go in by default, don't set your country, look at the stuff, it's going to give you a price in euro. And if you convert it to a dollar, it's actually more expensive than what you're going to pay, because we, as citizens outside of the European Union, don't have to pay VAT tax. So when you set your country to the U.S. and the currency to the U.S. dollar there, you see your prices in dollars, actually what you're going to pay. And the last little bit there, Thomann.de, THOMANN.de. Shop all you want. Remember that up to 3 Harley Benton guitars ship for the same €30, which is like $33 for all of them. So 1 guitar, €33, or $33. 3 guitars, $33 total to ship. So buy more. They're fun. Plus they're pretty cheap, so it's fun. So that, question number 1. Question number 2, and this is kind of one of the meatier ones that I have. Why do you keep buying cheap guitars? You obviously have spent some money on them, and for the 9 Harley Bentons that you just bought, you could own a rather nice Les Paul from Gibson, perhaps a custom shop piece, or a custom shop closet classic something Fender. Why would you want these 9 shit boxes when you could own one of the amazingly good real deals? It's a great question. A couple answers there. I've owned a lot of the real deals. I still own, I think I have 9 Gibsons still. I'll have 8 soon, I'm selling 1, but still, I have 9 Gibsons. I have a couple of Les Paul traditional Pro, traditional Pluses. I have vintage gear, an ES225 from the 50s. I have a SG Junior from the late 60s. A couple of ES135s, a Melody Maker. I'm probably forgetting one. So, SG Classic. So I have these, and they're not R8s, R9s, they're not Fender custom shops, although I have American Vintage reissue stuff from Fender as well. Why would I continue to buy these shitty ones? Well, first of all, in business they call it the ladder of inference. Why don't you come down from your ladder of inference and actually play some of the less expensive stuff now? Now this is a Chibson, and it took some work to get to be good, and I swapped out a pickup and some electronics. But my Harley Bentons that I've gotten recently out of the box are actually very playable, like from the get-go. The pickups have soul. They're a lot of fun. Their setups are really good. So they're fun, and I'm not going to go run out and buy a Brian May guitars, Brian May for $800 or the custom one for like $2,500. But I might spend a couple $100 to try and see if I can coax some new tones out of it, and then flip it or keep it. Plus, I have ADD, and I have short attention span, and I like collecting crap. I used to collect 1/18 scale cards, and I had like 70 of them at one point. I have one one now, I think, maybe two. So there's a fun of acquiring gear, and that's a sickness. If it doesn't jive with what you're into, cool. I enjoy it, and I can afford it right now. And unlike some of my old hobbies, I can make some mistakes with this and sell it. It's not just money's not just gone. It's not going up in the air in cigarettes or drugs or alcohol or whatever. I don't do any of those anymore. It's just not my deal. So I can blow it on guitars, but then I can sell it later because I'm a cheap bastard, and I tend to have a pretty good value proposition. So anyway, that's why I like the cheap guitars, because it keeps it interesting. I try a bunch of different things. I can tell you I really don't need another Les Paul. I need like a hole in the head. I've got so many different Les Paul style guitars, but each has something special to it that allows me to keep giving it a little bit of attention. The next one is you've had your Chibsons for a while. How do you think of them now? Or would you do anything differently, that kind of stuff? And you know what, I love my Chibsons. I don't play them nearly as much as I would like to. I do have a lot of guitars, and I've gotten a bunch of new ones this year. But they do get out, and they're gorgeous. You know what, I've got a special like smuggler's pride in having brought them in. It's retarded. It's dumb. I hate even using the word retarded because some people can get offended with that. But it's just a dumb thing, right? Like, ooh, I snuck this guitar into the country and whatever. But I kind of enjoy that, I'll be honest. So, you know, I don't mind having bought them. I like the guitars. As musical instruments, they're great. I've left the blue one kind of stock because it takes quite a bit of money to make one of these whole. So, you know, a Chibson's not a great deal if you compare it to like a Harley Benton. But you can't get an accurate shaped Harley Benton anymore. And if an accurate shape is kind of your deal, it's an option, although the Chibsons are hard to get in accurate shapes now too. But it costs quite a bit of money to make one how I would want it. And it's still not a real Gibson, but this spends a lot more time in my living room at risk around my 3 and 5-year-old than my Gibsons do. It's just reality. If I were to do it differently, and this is me, I would have gotten a blank headstock like my buddy Dino 007 did. Because really, everyone who I've ever played this guitar in front of, even before I picked it up, I said, it's a fake. You know, I'm not trying to fake anybody out. And the logo leans a little bit too, and I'm anal and OCD, so it would bother me. I think it bothers me a little bit anyway. But I think a plain black headstock would look kind of sharp. And it would get rid of a lot of the people like, oh, you're a criminal, and you're paying for child prostitution and a bunch of other shit through the Chinese cabals. I have no clue, dude. Maybe. I don't know. And I hope I don't. I'm against all of those things. But you know, blank headstock would be fine. My own logo on it, cool, but I even think the blank is even better. It's kind of just a classy way of doing it, and hats off to Dino, who obviously has an eye for the aesthetic anyway, being a photographer and stuff. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, and I've already alluded to it, they're very expensive to make right. The pickups are junk. The pots actually aren't horrendous. The switch is better than even the Harley Bentons. It's not bad. The fretwork on both of mine actually wasn't horrendous. This one took a little bit of love to get right, but it's pretty good. If you were to compare buying a Chibson and speccing it like you want, in the collar with the finish and everything, versus buying, say, a Bulldog Bodies Les Paul kit and building it, it's still cheaper than that. It's a great starting point to build out your guitar as you want it, with a Jeff Beck in the bridge and a 59 in the neck and whatever else. However you want to do it. Actually, I think it's just a 59 plus in the bridge and the original pickup in the neck. Anywho, my point being, it's a good spot to start, but it's not a cheap guitar. And I think this guitar as it sits here is probably $600, $500. And had I swapped out everything that I would want to swap out in it, it would be even more than that. So, just for that. So, if I do it again, maybe. If I had the right situation, I actually had a seller reach out to me, talking to them about it. We'll see what we can do, but I'd really prefer the blank headstock, and see if I can do something kind of neat and interesting with it. That's that. Where did you buy your Chibson? This one I'm actually answering less and less. I was actually asked by my seller not to advertise for them because she didn't want to bring any attention to herself. But even more than that, I haven't bought from my seller in like 8 months. And things change rapidly, so I don't feel comfortable in this amount of time recommending my seller, even though it's probably great. I haven't been close enough to confidently say, go buy from this person. So if you're looking to buy something like that, Chibson or a custom Chinese guitar, my advice there is to hop on over to China Guitar Skeptic forums and get a feel for what people are getting lately, who they're buying through, and to better protect yourself. I would say definitely go through something like AliExpress because there are built-in buyer protections from AliExpress, so you don't get screwed over. I think Chinese business ethics are a little different than maybe what I'm used to here in the United States. So to be careful with that, they definitely offer more protection. So go through AliExpress, go through a well-regarded seller, either which way. And even that, it's not a guarantee you're going to get a great product. And the last thing is, why do you hate Gibsons? And this comes, I think, a lot from my 2015 bitch video about some of the changes and lack of quality we saw when we had them in hand and played them. And I don't, man. As I said at the top of this, I have 9 Gibson guitars right now. My grandfather growing up played a Super 400 and an L5. That's what I grew up with. That's the quality. That's the awesomeness of it. I love Gibson guitars. And in fact, I'm quite happy with the 2016s I've seen so far. And if I ever get off my butt, I've got some videos just from a walkthrough at Guitar Center of the new 2016 line. So no, I love Gibson. And you know what? I even applaud some of their risk-taking. But if you watched my 2015 Changes and Disappointments video, the big crux of what I was talking about, it was just sloppiness. You know, there was finishes on very, very expensive guitars, half-assed. And when I talked to my local Gibson rep, you know, who happened to be at Guitar Center one day, I was there, and he said, you know, they were rushing to get the 2015s out because they thought they were going to knock the world on air, and they wanted to get them in Guitar Center by the fall. I think 2015 new model Gibsons come out in September. Like 2016 is already out now. So they rushed to get a lot of things to Guitar Center, and the quality was off. And Guitar Center is not your most discriminating Gibson customer. You see a lot of Wildwood spec, and I forget the name of the Japanese store that buys them, and when you see a Gibson with those, they command more money because they're a more discriminating buyer. And Guitar Center is Kmart of guitars, right? Like, send it, ship it. If we got a problem, we'll ship it back. But it's ship it, and then we can talk about making it right. So you see a lot of the worst ones at a GC. I just want nice guitars, and there's some stupid things on it. I don't mind you doing new stuff, just don't force it down everybody's throat. You know, G-force on everything, which is great, but half of those get pulled off in the first year or third or whatever. I guarantee in 10 years, there'll be more 2015s without G-force in them than there will be with them on. And for an instrument, people who buy their stuff and might switch something small, it's kind of a big thing to swap out, right? And the last little bit on that is, it hurts when I see things like the finish that goes over that little hologram that keeps bugging me, and some were crooked and they fix it and whatever. It's lifting on the majority of the ones I see where they start to bubble. 5 years down the road, that's going to peel off, and it's because they rushed it. They probably didn't test 100 of them or whatever, how a nitro finish sitting on top of a plastic hologram will last, and they fall apart, and it's a bummer. But I love Gibson, and do I think my Chibson stuff harms Gibson's value? I have no idea. Or Harley Bentons close copies, which Harley Benton changed their shape because I think Gibson put pressure on them. They I don't think so. I think anyone that has played one of these and played a real Gibson knows the real Gibson feels different. And they're better. You can make this great, but you're going to spend close to the same amount of money. So the final point is, it's never going to be a real Gibson. But for me, that wasn't really what it was about. I just wanted this guitar like this because I couldn't afford the real one in this nice of a finish, and I didn't want an Epiphone. At the end of the day, that's really all it is. And it made me happy. I could pull it off. That's about it. So, anywho, I still love Gibsons, and I probably always will. And with that, I've definitely gone long on my little 5 questions here. Hopefully, people enjoy it, and or it sparks conversation. That's about it. But as always, I've been Nick in the States, and I have issues. Take care, folks.